The bridge of the Lorian command ship fell silent as Admiral Trell stared at the holographic display. One by one, the blue dots representing their outer colonies turned red, then black, gone. Each dot represented millions of lives. How many ships remain in our defense fleet? Trell asked, his soft blue skin pale with exhaustion. 17 operational vessels. Admiral, his second-in-command, replied. The Vex have destroyed over half our forces in just 3 days. Trell closed his 4 eyes briefly. The Lorian Federation had known peace for centuries. Their species evolved on gentle worlds with mild climates and few natural predators. They had built their civilization on diplomacy and trade. Their ships were primarily exploration and science vessels, retrofitted with basic weapons only after the Vex appeared at their borders. The evacuation ships from Nilara colony? Trell asked. None made it through the blockade. Trell's thin fingers gripped the edge of the command console. Then we have no choice. He turned to his communications officer. Prepare the emergency beacon. Broadcast on all frequencies. The young officer's eyes widened. Sir, a general distress call. But that would reach even the restricted zones. I know. Trell straightened his shoulders. But if we don't get help, the Lorian people will cease to exist. Send it. The officer worked quickly, programming the automated distress call. A message that would repeat endlessly, traveling at faster than light speeds to every corner of the galaxy. Message ready, sir. Trell took a deep breath. Broadcast. 13 light-years away, at the edge of what the galactic community called restricted space, the signal reached the long-range sensors of Earth's orbital defense station Vigilance. Lieutenant Emma Parker was halfway through her monitoring shift when the alert sounded. She adjusted her headset and frowned at the strange pattern on her screen. Captain Reed, I'm picking up an unusual signal. Definitely artificial, but not matching any known human transmission pattern. Captain Reed moved to her station, his face reflecting in the blue glow of the monitor. Source: the Arcturus sector. Emma tapped several commands. It's repeating. Some kind of automated message. Reed's expression hardened. Run it through the new translation matrix. Emma nodded, transferring the signal to the quantum computers below. Earth had been monitoring alien communications for decades, building translation algorithms despite never having direct contact. The computer worked for several minutes before text began scrolling across her screen. Sir, Emma said quietly. It's a distress call. Reed read the message, then reached for the communication panel. Get me Fleet Commander Reynolds. Now. Jack Reynolds stood at the head of the polished table in Vigilance's main conference room. The projected star map showed the location of the signal's origin. The room buzzed with urgent conversations between the 12 members of Earth's Defense Council. This could be our chance, said General Martinez. First contact on our terms. Or a trap, countered Admiral Chung. Why would they suddenly call for help when they've been avoiding us for centuries? Reynolds studied the signal analysis. Because they're desperate. The translation is clear. They're facing extinction. Not our problem, said Director Foster of Intelligence. The galactic community made their position on Earth clear when they quarantined our system and labeled us Deathworlders. Captain Maria Reyes spoke up from her seat. As commander of Earth's most advanced battlecruiser, the Thunderchild, her opinion carried weight. With respect, that's exactly why we should respond, she said. They see us as dangerous because we evolved on a high-gravity planet with extreme climates and predators. But those same adaptations make us uniquely qualified to help. Reynolds nodded slowly. The question isn't whether we can help. It's whether we should. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the president's representative. Humanity has dreamed of reaching the stars for generations, she said finally. Now our first contact with alien life is a cry for help. How we respond will define us to the galaxy. She looked at Reynolds. Prepare a response fleet. We're going. Reynolds straightened. Yes, Mom. He turned to Captain Reyes. Get the Thunderchild ready. You'll lead the expedition." As the meeting disbanded, Reynolds looked once more at the alien distress signal pulsing on the screen. Somewhere out there, a peaceful species was fighting for survival. They had called for help from anyone who would listen. They were about to meet the Deathworlders. The massive hangar of Vigilance Station buzzed with activity as dawn broke over Earth below. Crews worked tirelessly, loading supplies and weapons onto transport ships bound for the 5 warships chosen for the mission. Captain Maria Reyes walked along the gleaming hull of the Thunderchild, her ship's black and silver surface reflecting the hangar lights. At 700 meters long, the battlecruiser was humanity's most advanced warship, built for deep space operations far from support. Captain on deck called her executive officer, Rob Turner, as she approached the loading ramp. "At ease," Maria said. "Status report. Supplies at 95%, weapons systems fully operational, and crew at 100% readiness," Rob replied, handing her a tablet. "We're ahead of schedule." Maria nodded, scanning the report. "And the Marine contingent?" "Commander Harris has them running final drills in the combat simulator. They're adapting the training scenarios based on what little we know about the Vex." A voice called from behind them, "Which isn't nearly enough." Maria turned to see Thomas Webb, the fleet's intelligence officer, approaching with a concerned expression. His uniform was wrinkled, suggesting he'd worked through the night. "Walk with me," Maria said, gesturing toward her ship. Once inside the quiet corridor, Webb spoke in a low voice. "I've been analyzing the transmissions we intercepted over the past year. The Lorians and other species have a name for humans. The Forbidden Ones. And they call Earth a death world." "We knew that much," Maria replied. "Yes, but I discovered why." Webb handed her a data tablet. "According to their classification system, Earth has gravity 30% stronger than standard habitable planets, atmospheric oxygen levels they consider toxic, and temperature variations they find extreme. Not to mention our bacteria, viruses, and predator species." Maria studied the data. "So we're monsters to them, just by existing." "It gets worse," Webb said. "The attacking force, these Vex, they're predatory, but evolved on a world with only 1/10 of Earth's gravity. They rely on exoskeletons and technology to compensate." Maria stopped walking. "You're saying both sides of this conflict are physically weaker than humans?" "Significantly. The Lorians evolved as peaceful herbivores on garden worlds. The Vex are predators, but would be crushed by Earth's gravity without their support suits." A slow smile spread across Maria's face. "Thank you, Webb. This changes our approach." 2 hours later, the Terran Security Council reconvened for a final briefing before launch. Fleet Commander Reynolds displayed the latest intelligence on the main screen. "The response fleet will consist of 5 ships," he explained. "The Thunderchild will lead, with the cruisers Defiance, Intrepid, and Challenger providing support. The medical vessel Mercy will handle evacuation and relief operations." General Martinez frowned. "Only 5 ships. The Vex reportedly have dozens." "Quality over quantity," Maria replied. "Based on new intelligence, we believe our ships and personnel can withstand conditions that would cripple both sides in this conflict." Dr. Laura Bennett, the mission's chief xenobiologist, stepped forward. "The aliens were dealing with evolved on worlds with lower gravity, milder climates, and fewer pathogens. Humans are naturally adapted to conditions they find extreme. In other words," said Captain Jason Lee of the Defiance, "we're the monsters under their beds." "Not monsters," Reynolds corrected. "Potential saviors. But we need to understand how we'll be perceived." Maria addressed the room. "When we arrive, we'll face beings who fear us simply because of where we evolved. But that fear can work in our favor if used properly." The President's representative stood. "This mission has 3 objectives. Establish first contact, protect the Lorians from genocide, and secure humanity's place in the galactic community. The manner in which you accomplish these goals is up to you, Captain Reyes." Maria nodded. "We'll be ready to launch in 1 hour." As the meeting ended, Maria found herself standing beside Dr. Bennett at the observation window. Below them, Earth rotated slowly, blue oceans and green continents shimmering in sunlight. "Strange, isn't it?" Laura said quietly. "The world that made us so tough is beautiful from up here." Maria watched as the first rays of dawn spread across North America. "Let's hope we remember that when we're out there. Being strong doesn't mean we can't also be kind." An hour later, the 5 ships of humanity's first contact fleet rose from Earth orbit, accelerating toward the jump point that would take them to answer an alien cry for help. The 5 ships of Earth's response fleet moved through the darkness of jump space, a swirling tunnel of blue-black energy that allowed them to travel faster than light. Inside the Thunderchild's bridge, Captain Maria Rice watched the ship's chronometer count down the remaining travel time. 8 days until we reach Lorien space, she said. "How are the crew holding up?" Lieutenant Paul Wilson, her communications specialist, looked up from his console. "Morale is high, Captain. Everyone understands what's at stake." Maria nodded and turned to the tactical display, where Commander Ben Harris was running combat simulations. The Marine commander's face was focused as he moved virtual troops across a battlefield. "Any insights, Commander?" Maria asked. Ben gestured to the display. "Based on what we know about the Vex, they rely heavily on technology to compensate for their physical limitations. Their battle tactics are rigid, designed around their exoskeletons and support systems. And how do we counter that?" Ben smiled. "Unpredictability. Humans are naturally adaptable. We can function in environments that would shut down their systems. Plus, we've simulated combat in the lower gravity we'll encounter. Our Marines can move 3 times faster than on Earth." "Good," Maria said. "Keep running the drills." She left the bridge and made her way to engineering, where Alex Foster was working with his team on the ship's weapons systems. "Captain," Alex greeted her, wiping sweat from his forehead. At just 32, he was considered the best weapons engineer in the fleet. "We've made some adjustments based on the alien technology data." He pointed to a disassembled rail gun. "We've calibrated our weapons for precision rather than raw power. The Vex ships have excellent shields, but poor structural integrity. One well-placed shot could disable a ship twice our size." "Will it be enough?" Maria asked. "We're still outnumbered." "Numbers aren't everything," Alex said with confidence. "Their ships are designed for fights against similar opponents. We're something new entirely." In the medical bay, Dr. Laura Bennett carefully studied tissue samples under a microscope. The ship's AI had created synthetic versions of Lorien and Vex biology based on the limited data available. "Fascinating," she muttered as Maria entered. "What have you found?" Maria asked. Laura looked up. "The Loriens have almost no immune system. Their home planets have so few pathogens that they never evolved one. And the Vex," she pointed to another slide. "Their cellular structure would collapse under Earth's gravity. They'd literally be crushed by their own weight. Is that useful to us?" Laura nodded. "Very. I'm developing non-lethal countermeasures based on this. We could potentially incapacitate Vex troops with simple Earth bacteria that are harmless to humans." "Perfect," Maria said. "We want to stop them, not commit genocide." In the ship's mess hall, Maria found David Wilson surrounded by audio equipment. The young communications expert had been working non-stop trying to decode more of the Lorien language. "Any progress?" she asked, sitting across from him. David played a series of sounds. "Their language is based on tonal patterns rather than distinct words. I've managed to identify basic gratings and emergency commands." He handed her a small device. "This translator should allow basic communication." "Good work," Maria said. "Keep at it." As she left the mess hall, the ship's alarm sounded briefly. Maria tapped her comm unit. "Bridge, report." "Captain," came the response. "We're detecting unusual energy readings from jump space. Something's following us." Maria hurried back to the bridge. The main screen showed swirling patterns of jump space, with a faint distortion trailing behind their fleet. "Analysis," she demanded. The science officer looked up with concern. "Unknown ship signature, but it's definitely tracking us. And it's faster than anything in our database." "Alert the fleet," Maria ordered. "Battle stations. Prepare to exit jump space if necessary." As the crew rushed to their positions, Maria stared at the screen. They were still days away from Lorian space, but it seemed the war might find them first. "Identify yourself," she broadcast into the void. "This is Captain Maria Rise of the Earth vessel Thunderchild." There was no response, but the distortion grew larger. "Weapons ready," she ordered quietly. "Let's see who's come to meet the Deathworlders." The mysterious distortion in jump space vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. After 24 tense hours, Captain Maria Reyes finally ordered the crew to stand down from battle stations. "Whatever it was, it's gone now," she told her officers. "Or hiding. Either way, we continue as planned." 7 days later, the human fleet emerged from jump space into the Lorian system. The scene that greeted them made even veteran officers pause. The space around Elysium, the main Lorian colony world, was a graveyard of broken ships. Orbital stations lay in ruins, debris forming rings around the blue-green planet. Through this destruction, Vex warships moved methodically, their black hulls absorbing starlight. "Tactical assessment," Maria ordered. 27 Vex warships in orbit," replied Lieutenant Hayes. 3 Lorian vessels still fighting, but heavily damaged. Planetary defense systems offline. Ground-based sensors detect heavy fighting in the main population centers. Maria straightened her uniform. "Open a channel to all ships in the system." "Channel open, Captain." "This is Captain Maria Rise of the Earth vessel Thunderchild. We have responded to the Lorian distress call and offer assistance. All hostilities should cease immediately." For a long moment, there was silence. Then 2 responses came almost simultaneously. First, a visual transmission from a Lorian ship. The commander appeared thin and exhausted, his blue skin pale, and his 4 eyes wide with disbelief. "Earth vessel. The Forbidden Ones have come." His voice trembled. "We did not believe, did not expect." Before Maria could respond, a second transmission cut in. A Vex commander appeared on screen, his rigid exoskeleton gleaming with embedded technology. His voice was harsh and mechanical through the translator. "Unidentified vessels, this conflict is not your concern. Leave this system immediately or be destroyed." Maria smiled thinly. "We're not leaving, and this is now our concern. We've responded to a legal distress call under Galactic Convention." The Vex commander's mechanical eyes narrowed. "You have been warned. Your primitive vessels are no match for our armada." The transmission cut off. Immediately, 10 Vex warships broke from their positions and moved toward the human fleet. "They're charging weapons," Lieutenant Hayes reported. "Shield at maximum," Maria ordered. "Target their lead vessels. Precision strikes, as Engineer Foster recommended." The space between the fleets lit up as the Vex ships fired first, energy beams cutting across the darkness. The Thunderchild shuddered as multiple impacts hit its shields. "Shields holding at 82%, reported the tactical officer with surprise. "Those hits would have crippled most ships according to our data." "Return fire," Maria commanded. "Show them what Deathworlders can do." The Thunderchild's main guns fired, the specialized rail cannons launching projectiles at a fraction of light speed. The first shot struck a Vex cruiser precisely where Alex Foster had calculated its structural weakness would be. The alien ship didn't just take damage. It split completely in half, secondary explosions rippling through both sections. "Direct hit," Hayes reported as the bridge crew stared in amazement. "Enemy vessel destroyed." The human fleet moved forward, firing with precision while the Vex responded with increasingly desperate salvos. "Captain," came a call from communications. "The Lorian commander is hailing us again." The blue alien appeared on screen, his expression one of shock. How are your ships withstanding their weapons? We lost 15 vessels to those same attackers. We're built differently, Maria replied simply. Can your remaining ships still fight? Yes, but... Then follow our lead. Target the coordinates we're sending you. Focus your remaining firepower there. As the battle intensified, Maria ordered a tactical maneuver no alien ship could perform, diving toward the planet's atmosphere, using its gravity well to accelerate the Thunderchild in a slingshot movement that brought it behind 3 Vex destroyers. Fire all portside batteries, she ordered. The results were devastating. 2 enemy ships exploded immediately, while the third spun helplessly, its propulsion system destroyed. Captain, called Lieutenant Wilson from communications, I'm picking up transmissions from the surface. The Lorian ground forces are being overrun in the northern continent. Maria nodded. Inform Commander Harris to prepare his Marines for immediate drop. The Thunderchild will create a gap in their blockade. She turned to the view screen, watching as the Vex fleet regrouped. For the first time in this war, the attackers seemed uncertain. They've never faced humans before, Maria said quietly. Let's make sure they remember this day. Commander Ben Harris felt the drop pod shake violently as it entered Elysium's atmosphere. Around him, 24 Marines in combat armor checked their weapons one last time. Remember, he told them through the comm system, lower gravity means higher jumps. Adjust your movements accordingly. The pod's interior glowed red as the heat of entry surrounded them. Then came a series of jolts as the braking thrusters fired, and finally the hard impact of landing. Go, 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 Ben shouted as the doors blew outward. The Marines rushed onto alien soil, spreading out in practiced formation. Ben felt immediately lighter, as if invisible hands were lifting him. Each step carried him twice as far as it would on Earth. The landing zone was a wide plaza surrounded by white crystal buildings, many now damaged by weapon fire. In the distance, explosions lit up the night sky. Captain Morgan, secure the perimeter, Ben ordered. Lieutenant Patel, get me a tactical overlay of our position. A blue holographic map appeared from Patel's wrist device, showing their location and known enemy positions. Red dots representing Vex forces were converging on a large structure 2 kilometers away. That's the Lorian Command Center, Patel explained. According to their transmissions, they're making their last stand there. Ben nodded. Then that's where we're going. Double time, people. The Marine platoon moved through the alien city with speed that would have been impossible on Earth. They bounded over debris and damaged vehicles, covering ground rapidly. As they approached the command center, they encountered their first Vex soldiers. The aliens were tall, insect-like creatures, encased in mechanical exoskeletons that amplified their natural strength. Take cover, Ben shouted as energy weapons fired toward them. The Marines responded with disciplined precision, using the terrain for protection while returning fire. Ben noticed immediately that the Vex moved slowly, their exoskeletons seeming heavy and cumbersome even in the lower gravity. Aim for the joints in their suits, he called out, firing his own rifle. The specialized ammunition penetrated the weakest points of the alien armor. 3 Vex soldiers fell quickly. The others retreated behind a barricade, calling for reinforcements. Press forward, Ben ordered. Don't give them time to regroup. The Marines charged, moving so quickly that the Vex couldn't track them effectively. Within minutes, the entire enemy squad was neutralized. That was too easy, Captain Morgan said, sounding concerned. Ben checked the bodies. Their exoskeletons are designed for strength, not speed, and they're fighting like they expect their opponents to move much slower. They reached the command center to find it surrounded by Vex forces. Inside, the last Lorian defenders were barely holding on. We need a distraction, Ben said, studying the situation. Morgan, take half the squad and hit their left flank. Lieutenant Patel, you're with me. The Marine team split up, attacking the Vex from multiple directions. The aliens, unaccustomed to such rapid assaults, broke formation in confusion. Ben led his group straight through the gap, reaching the command center's entrance. Inside, they found a group of Lorians staring at them with a mixture of fear and hope. One stepped forward, taller than the others with elaborate markings on her blue skin. "I am Director Nara, Defense Coordinator." Her voice trembled slightly. "You are?" "The Earth humans." Ben removed his helmet, revealing his face. "Commander Ben Harris, United Terran Defense Force. We're here to help." The Lorians murmured among themselves, some backing away slightly. Nara seemed to steady herself. "Your physical adaptations, they are even more pronounced than our records suggested." "Is that a problem?" Ben asked. Nara shook her head. "No, not anymore. The Vex have breached our inner defenses. They will launch their final assault at nightfall, when our vision is weakest." Ben smiled. "Fortunately for you, humans see quite well in the dark." Outside, the sounds of battle intensified as more Vex forces arrived. Captain Morgan's voice came through the comm. "Commander, we got at least 100 hostiles incoming. They're bringing in heavy weapons." "Copy that," Ben replied. He turned to Director Nara. "We'll hold this position. Do your people have any functioning defense systems left?" "The central grid is still operational, but we lost control when the Vex captured the main power facility to the west." Ben nodded. "Then that's our next target." He looked at the frightened Lorians. "Stay behind us. Tonight, you'll see why they call us Deathworlders." As darkness fell over the alien city, the humans prepared for battle in conditions that would blind their enemies but merely challenge them. The Vex were about to learn a painful lesson about fighting predators who evolved to hunt in the dark. The night sky over Elysium lit up with explosions as the space battle intensified. Captain Maria Reyes gripped her command chair as the Thunderchild shook from another impact. "Shields at 47%, reported Lieutenant Hayes. "Enemy reinforcements have arrived. Count now at 35 Vex vessels." Maria studied the tactical display. 3 human ships fought alongside the remaining Lorian vessels, while the medical ship Mercy evacuated civilians from the planet below. 2 more Vex cruisers had just appeared from jump space. "They're adapting to our tactics," Maria observed. "Engineer Foster, do you have anything else we can use?" Alex Foster looked up from his console, his face streaked with sweat. "Actually, yes. I've been studying their communication patterns. Their ships coordinate using a narrow-band frequency that our systems can access. You're suggesting we jam their communications?" "Better," Alex replied with a grin. "I can send false commands. Disrupt their formation." "Do it," Maria ordered. On the planet's surface, Dr. Laura Bennett worked frantically in a makeshift medical center within the Lorian command complex. Wounded aliens filled every available space, their blue blood staining the white floors. A Lorian medic approached her, his movements hesitant. "The injury patterns are unlike anything we've seen. Our treatments are ineffective." Laura nodded, studying the display of her medical scanner. "The Vex are using biological weapons, parasitic organisms that target Lorian nervous systems." She held up a vial of clear liquid. "But I found something interesting. Human blood contains compounds that are lethal to these parasites." The medic's 4 eyes widened. "You can create an antidote." "Already have," Laura replied, preparing an injector. "And it's just the beginning." At the front line, Commander Ben Harris and his Marines held position at the perimeter of the command center as waves of Vex troops advanced through the darkness. The night vision in their helmets turned the battlefield bright as day, while the Vex stumbled forward, their sensors struggling to compensate. "They're bringing up their heavy walkers," Captain Morgan reported, pointing to massive shapes moving behind the Vex lines. Ben nodded. "Time for Phase 2. Lieutenant Patel, are the charges ready?" "Yes, sir. Placed at all designated points." Ben activated his comm. "Director Nara, we're ready to proceed." Inside the command center, Nara watched the human officer's plan unfold on the tactical display. She had initially doubted the wisdom of dividing their forces, But now she understood. The power facility is lightly defended, Ben continued. They've committed most of their forces here. We'll create a diversion while a strike team retakes the facility. Nera nodded. Our troops will follow your lead, Commander. Ben gave the signal. Simultaneously, dozens of explosive charges detonated along the Vex front line. The Marines used the confusion to launch a coordinated attack, moving with speed and precision that left the Vex unable to respond effectively. Strike team, go now, Ben ordered through his comm. 10 Marines led by Lieutenant Patel broke away, moving rapidly through the city toward the power facility. With them went 5 Lorian engineers, amazed at how easily the humans navigated in near-total darkness. In orbit, the battle took an unexpected turn. The Vex flagship suddenly fired on 2 of its own cruisers, destroying one completely. Foster's plan is working, Maria said with satisfaction. Their command structure is breaking down. Captain, called Lieutenant Wilson from communications, we're detecting a new ship signature entering the system. It's massive, at least 3 times the size of anything we've encountered. The main view screen showed an enormous vessel emerging from jump space. Its black hull dwarfed even the largest Vex ships. Analysis? Maria demanded. Energy readings off the scale, replied the science officer. That must be their command ship. A transmission came through, showing a Vex commander with more elaborate cybernetic enhancements than any they'd seen before. I am Grand Admiral Zoll of the Vex Dominion, the alien announced. Your interference in our conquest is unprecedented. No species has damaged our fleet to this extent in centuries. Maria stood tall. Then perhaps it's time you reconsidered your conquest. Impossible, Zoll replied coldly. But you have forced a change in tactics. All Vex ships, focus fire on the human vessels. The Lorians can wait. The Vex fleet began to regroup, turning away from the planet to concentrate on the human ships. They're afraid of us, Maria realized. More than they fear the Lorians. Captain, called Engineer Foster, they locked us out of their communication system, but they've left us an opening. If we can get a ship behind their command vessel, Maria nodded. Contact the Defiance. Captain Lee is about to attempt the most important flanking maneuver in human history. Captain Jason Lee of the cruiser Defiance executed the most daring maneuver of his career. While the Thunderchild and other ships drew the Vex fleet's attention, the Defiance powered down all non-essential systems and drifted into the radiation belt of Elysium's outer moon. The radiation would hide them from sensors, but would also slowly damage the ship's crew. Radiation levels rising, reported his science officer. We have maybe 20 minutes before exposure becomes dangerous. We'll only need 10, Jason replied calmly. Prepare all weapons to target the command ship's propulsion systems. The Defiance emerged from the radiation belt directly behind Grand Admiral Zoll's massive vessel. Before the Vex could react, the human ship fired every weapon at the exact coordinates Engineer Foster had identified as critical. The results exceeded all expectations. The Vex command ship didn't just lose propulsion. Cascading failures spread through its systems as power surges overwhelmed its control networks. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull. On the planet's surface, Lieutenant Patel's strike team reached the power facility. With practiced efficiency, they eliminated the surprised Vex guards and secured the control room. Facility secured, Patel reported. Lorian engineers are restoring power to the defense grid now. Throughout the city, dormant defense turrets suddenly activated, targeting Vex positions with precision. The aliens, already disorganized by the human attack, began to retreat in confusion. Commander Ben Harris led his Marines in a final push, driving the remaining Vex forces away from the command center. The aliens abandoned their equipment in their haste to escape. Director Nera watched in amazement as the supposedly unstoppable invasion force crumbled before the combined human-Lorian counterattack. Your people fight like nothing we've ever seen, she told Ben. Not just your strength and technology, but your adaptability, your coordination. Ben smiled, removing his helmet. That's what happens when you evolve on a world that's constantly trying to kill you. You either learn to work together, or you don't survive. In orbit, the disabled Vex command ship drifted helplessly. With their central coordination lost and communications compromised, the remaining Vex vessels began to break formation. "They're retreating," Lieutenant Hayes announced on the Thunderchild's bridge. The crew cheered as enemy ships jumped out of the system one by one. "Captain," Lieutenant Wilson called from communications, "we're receiving a transmission from the Vex command ship. It's Grand Admiral Zoll." The alien commander appeared on screen, his mechanical implants damaged and sparking. "This is not over," he hissed. "You have merely delayed the inevitable. The Vex Dominion does not forgive." "Neither do humans when we see genocide," Maria replied. "Leave this system and spread the word. The Lorians are under Earth's protection now." The transmission cut off as the remaining Vex ships disappeared into jump space. 1 week later, the Grand Hall of the Lorian Command Center had been transformed. Banners bearing the symbols of both Earth and the Lorian Federation hung side by side. Representatives from both species gathered for a formal ceremony. Admiral Trell, who had sent the fateful distress call, stood beside Fleet Commander Reynolds. Behind them stood Captain Maria Reyes, Commander Ben Harris, and other key personnel from the human fleet. Facing them was the Lorian High Council, led by Grand Counselor Very, who had traveled from the Lorian homeworld as soon as news of the victory reached them. "We have come to formally thank humanity for your intervention," Very began, her voice carrying through the hall. "Without you, our people would now be extinct." Admiral Trell stepped forward. "I must also offer an apology. For centuries, our Federation, like most galactic powers, has classified humans as dangerous and unpredictable, Deathworlders to be contained and avoided. We maintained a quarantine around your system, believing it safer for all." Commander Reynolds nodded. "We suspected as much. We were wrong," Very admitted. "What we saw as danger was strength. What we feared as aggression was protection." Captain Maria spoke up. "What makes us dangerous isn't our strength or our technology. It's that we never stop trying to be better than our nature." Grand Counselor Very extended her four-fingered hand in a formal gesture. "The Lorian Federation officially offers alliance with Earth. We offer our knowledge of the galaxy, our technology, and our friendship." Commander Reynolds took her hand. "And we offer our protection." As the ceremony concluded, Maria stood at the observation window, watching as human and Lorian ships patrolled together in orbit. Below, Marines trained alongside Lorian security forces, sharing techniques and building trust. "Do you think it will last?" Dr. Laura asked, joining her. Maria smiled. "The galaxy feared the Deathworlders. Now they'll have to get to know us." Throughout Gnome space, news spread rapidly. The isolated humans had not only emerged from their quarantine zone, but had defeated the Vex Armada where dozens of more civilized species had failed. Fear mixed with curiosity about these powerful newcomers. The Deathworlders had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same. The great dome of the Lumari Communications Center glowed with soft blue light. Thin, tall figures moved between the curved consoles. Their four-fingered hands worked quickly over the controls while their large eyes reflected the screens in front of them. Senior Signal Officer Tren stood very still. Something had changed on his screen. A new signal was coming in from the outer edge of Lumari space. "Director Vel, please come here," Tren called. His voice was calm, but his inner membranes fluttered with worry. The director glided across the floor. "What have you found, Tren?" "A signal. It does not match any known pattern in our database." Director Vel leaned closer to the screen. The signal pulsed in an unusual rhythm. Could it be natural? A pulsar or radiation burst? "No." Tren pointed to the pattern. "See these repeating sections. This is made by something intelligent. This is a message." The news spread quickly through the communication center. The Lumari had met 3 other spacefaring races in their long history. All were peaceful traders, but none used signals like this. For 3 days, the best Lumeri code experts worked to understand the message. Tren barely slept. On the 4th day, he called for Director Vell again. "I have broken the code," Tren said. His voice shook slightly. "It is a distress call." The message played on the main screen. It showed images of a beautiful world with tall crystal cities. Then came the attack. Massive dark ships filled the sky. Weapons fire rained down. The crystal cities shattered. "This species calls themselves the Arden," Tren explained. "They were peaceful explorers. They say they are being destroyed by someone called the Drakkar." More images showed the attackers. They were large, covered in natural armor plates, with 6 limbs and powerful jaws. Their ships were built like weapons, all sharp angles and weapon ports. "The Arden say the Drakkar call all other life forms prey," Tren continued. "They believe they are the top hunters of the galaxy. They take what they want and destroy the rest." Director Vell's skin paled. "Where are the Arden now?" "Gone." Tren lowered his head. This message was sent as their last cities fell. They hoped someone would hear them. They wanted the galaxy to know what happened. The Lumeri Council met that same day. Fear filled the great meeting hall. "The Drakkar will come for us next," said Council Leader Mira. "We have good ships, but we are not warriors." "We must warn others," Tren suggested. "Send this message to everyone we can reach." "Yes," agreed Mira. "Send it on all channels, in all directions. Perhaps someone can help us." The Lumari broadcasting stations worked day and night. They sent the Arden message along with their own plea for help. The message traveled across the stars, most of it heading into empty space. But not all of it. On the edge of explored space, a small human station picked up the signal. Lieutenant Jack Parker was alone on monitoring duty when the alert sounded. "What the hell?" he muttered, watching the strange images play across his screen. He watched it twice, then hit the emergency communication button. "Central Command, this is Deep Space Monitoring Station 47. You need to see this right now." Within hours, the message reached Earth. In the United Earth Fleet headquarters, Admiral Wilson watched the Arden's final moments, and the Lumari's desperate plea. "Get me the Thunderbolt," she ordered. "Captain West needs to see this immediately." Aboard the UEF Thunderbolt, Captain Jane West received the transmission in her private quarters. Her face hardened as she watched. "Navigation," she called through the ship's comm system. "Plot a course to these coordinates. Maximum speed." She stood and straightened her uniform. "Executive Officer, assemble the command crew in the briefing room. We have new orders." The Thunderbolt's powerful engines flared to life. Soon, the first human response to an alien distress call would be underway. The Drakkar were about to learn what it meant to threaten a species that called Earth home. The UEF Thunderbolt dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Lumari space. Captain Jane West stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main screen. "Scan the area," she ordered. "Full range." Lieutenant Ryan at the sensor station worked quickly. "Captain, I'm detecting debris. A lot of it. Looks like the remains of ships and a space station, maybe. Any life signs?" "Yes, Mom. Faint signals coming from the 3rd planet in this system." Captain West nodded. "Take us in, slow approach. Alert status yellow." As the Thunderbolt moved deeper into the system, more signs of destruction became clear. Broken ships drifted silently. A small moon had a massive crater on its surface from some powerful weapon. "Message from Earth Fleet Command," Communications Officer Diaz announced. "Admiral Marcus is on his way with the main battle group. ETA 48 hours. "Good," West replied. "We'll need them." "Tactical, any sign of these Drakkar ships?" "Nothing currently in the system, Captain," answered Lieutenant Cole. "But these energy readings suggest they left less than a week ago." The Thunderbolt entered orbit around the 3rd planet. Parts of its surface showed the black scars of orbital bombardment. "I'm receiving a transmission," Diaz said suddenly. It's coming from the surface. Put it through, West ordered. The screen showed a thin, tall alien with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. It spoke in a musical language none of them understood. Run it through the translation software, West said. Send our first contact greeting package. After several minutes, the translation began to work. The alien's words appeared as text on the screen. Please help us. The Drakkar may return any moment. Who are you? West stepped forward. I am Captain Jane West of the United Earth Fleet ship Thunderbolt. We received your distress call. We've come to help. Hours later, West led a small team to the surface. They landed near what remained of a Lumari city. Elegant towers of crystal-like material stood damaged but not completely destroyed. A group of Lumari waited for them. Their leader stepped forward. I am Director Vel, the alien said through a translation device. Thank you for coming. But I fear you have doomed yourselves as well. The Drakkar are too powerful. Commander Tom Reed, West's second-in-command, looked around at the destruction. What happened here? The Drakkar attacked without warning, Vel explained as they walked toward a remaining building. They said this was now their territory. When we tried to communicate, they laughed. They said prey does not speak to hunters. Inside a large hall, more Lumari were gathered. Some were injured. All looked afraid. They destroyed our defense ships in minutes, Vel continued. They said they would return to collect useful resources after they finish with the next system. How many ships did they have? West asked. 20 large warships, but there are hundreds more in their empire. Reed whistled softly. That's a serious force. A Lumari scientist approached them, his eyes wide with curiosity. Your life signs are unusual. What world do you come from? Earth, West replied simply. The scientist froze. He turned to the others and spoke rapidly in their language. The translation device struggled to keep up, but West caught words like impossible and death world. Is there a problem? She asked. The scientist, who introduced himself as Kel, explained. In our galactic records, your planet is classified as Death World 3. The gravity, weather, predators, and natural disasters. Nothing intelligent should have evolved there. Reed laughed. Yeah, Earth can be rough. That's why we're tough. You don't understand, Kel said, his voice shaking. The Drakkar believe they are the apex predators of the galaxy, but they evolved on a world much gentler than yours. West's communication device beeped. Captain, we're detecting ships entering the system. Not ours. How many? West asked. 5 Drakkar warships, Mum. West locked eyes with Vel. Looks like we're about to meet these hunters face to face. Vel's inner membranes fluttered with fear. You should run while you can. That's not how humans operate, West said, checking her weapon. We stand and fight, especially when someone needs our help. Reed nodded and grinned. Time to show these Drakkar what happens when they pick a fight with Deathworlders. The Thunderbolt sped back to orbit, Captain West and her team aboard. The 5 Drakkar warships were approaching slowly, their massive forms like dark shadows against the stars. Battle stations, West ordered. Her crew moved with quick precision. Captain, we're outgunned, Lieutenant Cole said from Tactical. 5 against 1 aren't good odds. West nodded. We don't need to win. We just need to hold until Admiral Marcus arrives. The main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. A Drakkar appeared, its armor-plated face and sharp teeth visible. It spoke in a deep, growling voice. Unknown vessel, you are in Drakkar territory. Identify yourself or be destroyed. West stood tall. This is Captain Jane West of the United Earth Fleet ship Thunderbolt. We are here at the request of the Lumari people. The Drakkar made a sound like rough laughter. The prey called for help, and you answered. Then you will share their fate. Prepare to. Sir, another Drakkar interrupted off-screen. We're detecting more ships entering the system. West couldn't help smiling. That would be the rest of our fleet. The screen showed 12 human warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The UEF dreadnought led them, nearly 3 times the size of the Thunderbolt. The Drakkar captain's eyes narrowed. This isn't over. We will return in force. The transmission cut off. The Drakkar ships turned and quickly left the system. 2 hours later, Admiral Marcus stood in the Lumeri Council chamber. He was a tall man with dark skin and gray hair. His uniform showed many medals. "I understand your fear," he said to the Lumeri leaders. "But running won't help. The Drakkar will find you wherever you go." Director Vel stepped forward. "What choice do we have? We are not warriors like you or the Drakkar." "You don't need to be," Marcus replied. "You have us now." Council leader Mira looked doubtful. "Why would you risk your people for us? We have nothing to offer in return." "That's not how humans think," Marcus explained. "We protect those who need help. It's part of who we are." Scientist Kell had been studying data on a small device. He looked up. "Admiral, I've analyzed your ships. Your weapons and shields are impressive, but the Drakkar Empire has hundreds of warships. Even your fleet cannot stand against all of them." Marcus smiled. "We don't plan to fight them all at once." He pressed a button on his wrist device. A hologram appeared showing the local star systems. "We need to form an alliance," Marcus continued. "The Lumeri, humans, and any other species threatened by the Drakkar. Together, we have a chance." Mira and the other council members talked quietly among themselves. Finally, Mira spoke. "How can we trust you? You come from a death world. Your kind evolved fighting. How are you different from the Drakkar?" Captain West, who stood behind Marcus, stepped forward. "The difference is choice," she said. "Yes, we can fight. We're good at it. But we choose when to use that strength. We fight to protect, not to conquer." A young Lumeri named Lurin suddenly spoke up. "I've been monitoring deep space. The Drakkar are gathering a larger fleet. They will be here in 10 days. Marcus nodded. "Then we have work to do." Over the next days, humans and Lumeri worked together. Human engineers helped strengthen Lumeri defenses. Human ships patrolled the system. Science Officer Kai, a quiet woman with quick hands, worked with Kell to improve Lumeri shield technology. "Your people learned so quickly," Kell said, watching Kai work. "We had to," she replied. "On Earth, adapt or die is the rule." Meanwhile, 3 more alien species arrived. The Nova, the Tellus, and the Vax. All had suffered Drakkar attacks. All wanted to join the alliance. On the 9th day, Admiral Marcus called a meeting of all Allied commanders. "The Drakkar believe they are the greatest hunters in the galaxy," he told them. "But they've never faced humans before, and Earth's history is full of predators who became prey when they hunted us." Captain West looked at the gathered aliens. Many looked nervous, but there was hope in their eyes now. "The Drakkar want to hunt," she said. "Let's show them what happens when they hunt Deathworlders." Intelligence Officer Lisa Hart studied the holographic display showing Drakkar ship movements. Her dark eyes narrowed as she spotted a pattern. "Admiral," she called to Marcus, who stood nearby. "I think I've found something." Marcus walked over, followed by Lumeri scientist Kell and Vax Commander Dorn. "The Drakkar always attack in this formation," Lisa explained, pointing to the display. "They hit hard from the front, then send smaller ships around to attack from behind. It's like a predator hunting pack." Dorn nodded, his gray skin wrinkling around his eyes. "Yes, they used this tactic when they attacked our colonies. Very effective." Marcus smiled. "It's effective because everyone runs from the main force. But what if we don't run? What if we stand and fight the big ships, while setting a trap for the smaller ones?" "A counter-ambush," Lisa said with approval. Kell looked worried. "Admiral, our latest scans show the Drakkar have gathered over 50 ships. Even with all our combined forces, we have only 32. Numbers aren't everything in battle," Marcus replied. "Surprise, strategy, and determination matter more." Across the Lumari homeworld, preparations continued. Human engineers worked alongside alien technicians to upgrade defenses. Captain West supervised the installation of new weapon systems on Lumari ships. "Try it now," she told a Lumari operator named Pax. Pax pressed the controls. The new weapon system hummed to life, its targeting computer much faster than before. "It works," Pax said, his inner membranes fluttering with excitement. West smiled. "Good. Make sure all your gunners know how to use it before the Drakkar arrive." On the Thunderbolt, Commander Tom Reed led combat training for mixed teams of humans and aliens. "The Drakkar rely on strength and fear," he explained to the group. "But we have something better. We have teamwork and creativity." A Tellus soldier named Jor raised his hand. "But the Drakkar are naturally armored. Their bodies are built for combat." Reed grinned. "So are cockroaches on Earth, but we still figured out how to deal with them." The alien soldiers looked confused. "It's a joke," Reed explained. "What I mean is, physical advantages can be overcome with the right tactics." That evening, Captain West met with Admiral Marcus and the other commanders. Their faces were serious. "Our scouts report the Drakkar fleet will arrive tomorrow," Marcus said. "All ships should be in position by 600 hours. West nodded. "The Thunderbolt will lead the reconnaissance team. We'll track their approach and report back." "That's dangerously close to their fleet," Marcus warned. "We'll be careful," West promised. "Besides, someone needs to get visual confirmation of their numbers and formation." Early the next morning, the Thunderbolt and 2 small fast ships left the main fleet. They moved carefully to the edge of the system where the Drakkar would arrive. "Keep us hidden behind the moon," West ordered. "Passive scanners only." Hours passed. The bridge crew remained alert but tense. "Contact." Lieutenant Ryan suddenly called out. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The main screen showed the Drakkar fleet appearing. Dark, angular ships with weapon ports glowing red. "Count," West asked. 63 ships, Captain," Ryan replied, his voice tight. "More than we expected." West pressed her communication button. "Admiral Marcus, this is West. The Drakkar have arrived with 63 ships. They're moving into attack formation." "Acknowledged," Marcus replied. "Start falling back to position Alpha. We'll be ready." As West gave the order to retreat, a warning alarm sounded. "Captain," Lieutenant Cole shouted, "3 Drakkar scout ships have spotted us. They're moving to intercept." West looked at the tactical display. The scout ships would catch them before they could reach the main fleet. "Change of plans," she said firmly. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Send the data to the fleet and tell the other recon ships to get out of here." Commander Reed looked at her. "What about us?" West's face was determined. "We'll lead these scouts away from the fleet. Give Marcus more time to prepare." The Thunderbolt turned sharply, its engines flaring bright as it raced away from both the Drakkar fleet and the Allied forces, 3 enemy scouts in hot pursuit. "Let's show these hunters what it's like to chase something from a death world," West said with a grim smile. The Thunderbolt raced through an asteroid field, Drakkar scout ships close behind. Inside the ship, the crew worked with calm focus despite the danger. "Hard to port," Captain West ordered as energy blasts from a Drakkar ship flashed past. The Thunderbolt turned sharply, narrowly avoiding the attack. "Shields at 64%, Lieutenant Cole reported. "We can't take much more direct fire." Commander Reed pointed to a large asteroid ahead. "There. We can use that for cover." West nodded. "Do it." The Thunderbolt dove behind the massive rock just as more Drakkar weapons fire lit up space. The ship shuddered as smaller rocks hit the shields. "Status of the Drakkar scouts?" West asked. "Still following, Captain," Ryan answered. "But they're being more careful in the asteroids. Their ships are bigger than ours." West smiled slightly. "Good. That gives us time." She turned to Reed. "We need to learn more about these Drakkar. This might be our only chance to get close to one of their ships. Reed raised an eyebrow. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we turn hunters into the hunted, West replied. She pressed the ship-wide communication button. All hands, prepare for attack maneuvers. The crew looked surprised but quickly moved to battle stations. Captain, Communications Officer Dias said, I'm picking up Drakkar communications. Their universal translator is working, but they don't know we can hear them. Put it on speaker, West ordered. A rough, growling voice filled the bridge. Weak prey. Their ship is damaged. Commander Vrak wants them captured alive for study. Corner them near the large asteroid. West's eyes lit up. Perfect. They think we're running scared. She looked at the tactical display. Here's what we're going to do. 20 minutes later, the Thunderbolt drifted near the large asteroid, appearing damaged and vulnerable. Its lights flickered, and small debris floated nearby, suggesting a hit. The 3 Drakkar scouts approached cautiously, moving into position to surround the human ship. They're taking the bait, Reed whispered, though there was no need to be quiet in space. Wait for it, West said calmly. Wait until all 3 are in position. The largest Drakkar ship moved directly in front of the Thunderbolt, weapons trained on the human vessel. Now, West ordered. The Thunderbolt's engine suddenly flared to full power. The ship shot forward, straight toward the main Drakkar scout. At the same time, hidden weapons ports opened on the human ship's hull. Fire all forward weapons, West commanded. The Thunderbolt's attack caught the Drakkar completely by surprise. Concentrated weapons fire hit the scout ship's engines. The Drakkar vessel spun out of control, crashing into one of its companion ships. Hard starboard, fireport weapons, West called out. The Thunderbolt turned sharply and fired again, hitting the 3rd Drakkar ship's weapon systems. Explosions erupted along its hull. Captain, Dias called out, we're being hailed by the damaged Drakkar ship. Put them through, West replied. The Drakkar commander appeared on screen, green blood trickling down his face. His eyes burned with hatred. How? He demanded. You were damaged prey. We were pretending, West answered simply. On Earth, many prey animals use deception to survive. We learned from them. The Drakkar snarled. Our main fleet will destroy you all. Maybe, West said. But first, you're going to tell us about your ship's weaknesses. The Drakkar laughed. We have no weaknesses, human. Science Officer Kai had been analyzing sensor data from the battle. She looked up from her station. Captain, I noticed something interesting. Their ship's armor is weaker near their engine cooling systems, and their sensors couldn't track us well when we were near the mineral-rich asteroids. The Drakkar commander's expression confirmed Kai's discovery. All ships, prepare to board the intact Drakkar vessel, West ordered. We need whatever information we can get. Then we'll head back to the fleet. As human crew members prepared for boarding, Reed approached West. That was some impressive flying, Captain. West shook her head. We got lucky. But now we have something valuable to bring back to Admiral Marcus. What's that? Reed asked. Hope, West replied. And a weakness to exploit. Across the system, the main human alien fleet prepared for the coming battle, unaware that the Thunderbolt had just scored the first real victory against the Drakkar Empire. Admiral Marcus stood before the combined fleet commanders. The large meeting room on his flagship was filled with representatives from all allied species. Captain West has returned with critical information, Marcus announced. The Thunderbolt not only survived but managed to capture a Drakkar scout ship. Murmurs of surprise and hope spread through the room. The Lumeri Council leader, Mira, looked especially shocked. How is this possible? She asked. No one has ever captured a Drakkar ship before. West stepped forward. We used deception. On Earth, even prey animals know how to become predators when necessary. Science Officer Kai displayed her findings on the large screen. The Drakkar ships have 2 major weaknesses. First, their sensors can't penetrate certain mineral compounds found in common asteroids. Second, their cooling systems are vulnerable near the engine core. The alien commanders studied the information carefully. The Tellus General Jor looked thoughtful. "We can use this," he said. "But the main Drakkar fleet is still approaching. They will reach us in hours." Marcus nodded. "That's why we need to act now. Here's the plan." The plan was bold. Small, fast ships would carry special mineral bombs into the heart of the Drakkar fleet. These would release clouds of sensor-blocking dust. Meanwhile, the main Allied fleet would target the weak points in the Drakkar ship cooling systems. "It's risky," Reed said when the meeting ended. "But it might work." West looked at him. "It has to work. The Drakkar have just destroyed a human mining colony in the next system. Over 3,000 people dead." Reed's face hardened. "I hadn't heard." "The news just came in," West replied. "Admiral Marcus didn't want to announce it during the meeting. Morale is already low." 3 hours later, the battle began. The Drakkar fleet arrived in perfect formation, just as intelligence officer Lisa had predicted. Their massive ships moved forward with confidence, weapons ready. "They're not even trying to hide their approach," Kel said, watching from the Lumera command center. "They don't fear us at all." "That will change soon," Lisa replied. The Allied fleet held position, appearing to prepare for a defensive stand. The Drakkar main ships moved closer, their smaller attack vessels spreading out to the sides, ready to circle around. "Now," Admiral Marcus ordered. 20 small ships suddenly broke from the Allied formation. They shot forward at maximum speed, heading straight for the center of the Drakkar fleet. The Drakkar opened fire, but the small ships were fast and hard to hit. Most made it through, releasing their special cargo into the middle of the enemy formation. Clouds of mineral dust spread quickly, creating a haze that Drakkar sensors couldn't penetrate. "Phase 2, Marcus commanded. The main Allied fleet surged forward. They targeted the cooling system weak points that Kai had identified. Ship after ship fired precisely at these areas. Explosions erupted across the Drakkar fleet. Several of their smaller ships lost power immediately. 2 large warships began to drift, their engines dead. But the Drakkar were not defeated easily. Their flagship, a massive vessel twice the size of Marcus' dreadnought, pushed through the confusion. It fired a powerful beam that cut through an Allied cruiser like paper. "They're using their super weapon," someone shouted over the communication channel. The Drakkar flagship turned its weapon toward the Lumari homeworld. The beam began to charge, glowing with deadly energy. "They're going to hit the planet," West called out. "We can't stop that weapon in time." Marcus' voice came over all channels. "This is Admiral Marcus. I'm taking the dreadnought in." Before anyone could object, the human flagship accelerated directly toward the Drakkar superweapon. It fired all weapons, concentrating on the charging beam emitter. "What is he doing?" Kel asked, watching in horror. "He's putting his ship between the weapon and your planet," West answered, her voice tight. The dreadnought slammed into the Drakkar flagship just as the superwave fired. The beam cut through the human ship but lost power before it could reach the planet. Both ships, locked together, drifted away from the main battle, fires burning across their hulls. West stared at the screen, then straightened her shoulders. "All ships, continue the attack. Admiral Marcus just gave his life to save millions. Let's make sure it wasn't in vain." The Allied fleet pressed forward with new determination. For the first time, the Drakkar began to retreat. 3 weeks after the Great Battle, the Allied fleet approached the Drakkar home system. Captain Jane West, now Admiral West after Marcus' sacrifice, stood on the bridge of the Thunderbolt. "All ships report ready," Commander Reed informed her. West nodded. "The Drakkar have pulled back all their forces to defend their homeworld. This will be their final stand." The Allied fleet had grown. News of their victory had spread across the galaxy. More species had joined them, bringing ships and warriors. They now outnumbered the remaining Drakkar forces. "We're receiving a transmission from the Drakkar homeworld," Lieutenant Diaz announced. The main screen showed the Drakkar Emperor. Unlike the soldiers they had faced, he was older, his armor plates dull with age, but marked with many battle scars. "Humans," he growled. "You have fought well. Better than any prey we have hunted before. But this ends now. Leave our territory, and we will not pursue you." West stepped forward. "You still don't understand. We're not running from you. We never will. Your empire has attacked peaceful worlds and killed millions. That ends today." The Emperor laughed. "You think because you won one battle that you can defeat us. This is our home. We will fight to the last warrior." "So will we," West replied simply, then cut the transmission. The plan was complex but built on what they had learned. The Lumari ships, with their advanced shield technology, would lead the first attack. The Tellus and Vax would target the Drakkar defense platforms. The human ships would go for the main Drakkar fleet. But there was also a secret mission. West had assembled a small team including herself, Commander Reed, Science Officer Kai, and a group of Special Forces soldiers led by Lieutenant Ben Carter. "Our job is to infiltrate the Drakkar Command Center," West told the team as they prepared in the Thunderbolt's launch bay. "We need to shut down their central defense network. Without it, their ships won't be able to coordinate." Reed checked his weapon. "Getting in won't be easy." "That's why we have this," Kai said, holding up a small device. "It will mask our life signs to appear Drakkar, a little trick I developed after studying their biology." The battle began fiercely. Ships fired from all sides, explosions lit up space, and fighters darted between larger vessels. In the confusion, a small transport ship slipped through the Drakkar defenses and landed near the massive command center on the Drakkar homeworld. West's team moved quickly through the building. Kai's device worked perfectly. The Drakkar guards barely looked at them as they passed. "The main control room should be ahead," Kai whispered, checking her scanner. They found it guarded by elite Drakkar warriors. Lieutenant Carter's team created a distraction in another part of the building, drawing most of the guards away. West, Reed, and Kai slipped into the control room. Only the Drakkar Emperor and 2 guards remained. "Now," West shouted. Reed fired his weapon, stunning the guards before they could react. The Emperor turned, surprise in his eyes. "Impossible," he roared. "How did prey enter our most secure facility?" "We're not prey," West said, aiming her weapon at him. "We're humans, and we're here to end this war." The Emperor lunged at her with surprising speed for his size. West dodged and fired, but only grazed his armored hide. Reed jumped forward to help, but one of the Emperor's 6 limbs knocked him aside. Kai worked frantically at the control panel, trying to access the defense network. "I need more time," she called out. The Emperor cornered West, his sharp teeth bared. "You fought well, human. But in the end, the Predator always wins." West smiled. "That's where you're wrong. On Earth, the smartest predators learn to work together. The ones that didn't die out long ago." At that moment, Lieutenant Carter's team burst into the room. The Emperor found himself surrounded by human weapons. "Your ships are being defeated," West told him. "Surrender and your people will live." The Emperor looked at the screens showing his fleet in disarray. For the first time, uncertainty showed in his eyes. "How?" he asked. "How did creatures from a death world become so powerful?" "Because we had to be," West answered. "Earth taught us to be strong, but it also taught us to be smart, and to protect those who can't protect themselves." The Emperor slowly lowered his weapons. The great Drakkar Empire had met its match in the Deathworlders from Earth. 1 month later, representatives from 27 species gathered to sign a new Galactic Alliance treaty. Lumari Council leader Mira spoke to the assembly. "From the darkest time came our greatest hope," she said. "The humans answered our call when no one else would. They taught us that strength is not just about power, but about courage, compassion, and cooperation. West, standing with the human delegation, looked out at the gathered aliens. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity's place in it.